What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Sheppard, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. A Lions Talk Live. It is a Friday morning show edition, and guess what day it is? The pads are coming on. People are going to hit. It's going to get real out there for the Detroit Lions, the team, the coaches, everybody in between. You all know, I know, and everybody else knows that, hey, the Lions have been pretty dang heated in training camp so far. Dan Campbell has had to stop practices multiple different times, multiple different days to try to slow it down because this team, I think instead of just saying, hey, this team's out of control, this team just wants to beat each other up, I think it's more of a reflection. This team feels like they want to get to the Super Bowl. They want to get to the promised land. They are all less than happy with how last year ended for the team in the playoffs to the Washington Commanders. We all get the story. All off season, you've heard Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery. I mean, everybody out there has all said the same thing. They're going to use that playoff loss, that situation, to be rocket fuel for this year. I think MCDC, Kelvin Shepard, and all the other coaches are going to have to say, all right, that's fine, but we might need to pull back a little bit at times. And now with pads coming on, they might want to pull back a little bit more. All right, we're going to dive into a couple of things. We're going to get into the 5 headlines now. We're going to get into a couple of different things when you break down Kelvin Shepard's presser yesterday that he had to point out about not just some of the rookies, but definitely some of the rookies and a couple other players. I think he gave some real kind of tidbits, maybe even caught himself once or twice during the presser and said, maybe I need to dial back on that a little bit, which I think he did just that, but he gave some real optimism regarding a couple of Lions rookies. Yes, I'm pretty sure you guys know who one of them is, and he did not mince words when talking about Ahmed Hassan, talking about Dan Jackson, talked about a couple other guys that maybe will be flexing into the lineup a little bit more and more. And yes, before all you guys ask, as far as, man, I didn't even know if I wanted to go anywhere with this, but in regards, I should say, of Christian Wilkins, who was released yesterday by the Raiders, could he be a Detroit Lion? Sure. Will he be a Detroit Lion? We'll get into that during the 5 headlines now. I know a lot of places will probably run with that as the main topic of their shows today. I don't know. If a guy isn't going to rehab his foot injury enough to pass a physical, or to where the team who just signed him has to eat a lot of dead cap money, does that sound like a Detroit Lion, an MCDC Brad Holmes guy? I'll let you guys ascertain that. All right, all that done, said, out of the way. A couple real quick things before we get the show going. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, pretty pleased with Mountain Dew on top. Consider doing so. We are 40 subs away. 40 subs away from hitting 14,000. So if you could help out with that, I would be thankful. Also, if you have a half second of time, hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last but never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. I've been in the industry over 30 years. You want somebody who's going to watchdog for you, make sure nobody overcharges you, make sure nobody tries to slip something past you. You know what? That's what I do, and I enjoy it. Sort of like being a reporter. I love investigating things and trying to call people out when they're trying to do something they shouldn't be doing, getting them on the naughty list. So go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text, any type of property. Yeah, it can be vacant land, commercial property, etc. All right, all that done. Let's get going and rock and rolling and into 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines coming to us on this Friday. Observation, Lions tensions boiling over. Scuffles halt practice, SI.com. Story by Johnny Macaron. Hey, yeah, I know we talked about during the morning, the opening monologue, and we've been talking about it all week. Amon-Ra St. Brown got into it. Brian Branch, Jamison Williams got into it with somebody's mom. I mean, just kidding. But you guys get it. This entire team is fueled up. They're fired up. They want to go after each other, and I think they all can't wait for the Hall of Fame game when they get to do it to somebody who's not wearing the Lions jersey. MCDC talked about this a couple times during the week in his pressers, said he had to pull people back, kind of trying to get them to kind of calm down. And recent practices have been no different. It's very important, says MCDC. We're going to be aggressive. Guys are going to have to be around here and know how to play with each other. It's calculating what we're doing and implementing what we're doing in practice. The mentality, to get after your play, to get after the player, but not endanger each other is the important factor, end quote from MCDC. We get it. As a coach, you want everybody to play at 1,000% of their ability levels at every snap, every play. You want that kind of grit mentality. You want that aggression out there, especially in something like football, right? But the downside is these guys have got to learn to throttle back. The one thing I would say in recent days with the heat index, these guys are outside mixing it up. I'm sure that adds to some of the emotions. When you start getting a little overly heated, you get a little, tired, and now somebody's jacking you, they're bumping you, and you feel like, man, this guy's going next level. Imagine having Giovanni Manu block down field on you. Imagine Ahmed Hassanin coming after you on every play. Guys like that, and that's probably the majority of the Lions players. It's just the type of athlete they do tend to go after, develop, encourage, however you want to say it. And the fact that these guys are out there in those kind of conditions, I'm guessing that has to do with some of the temperatures boiling over in practice. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions training camp observations, day 4. Offensive shifts, interior offensive line. Story by Eric Schlitz of SB Nation. Is it a big deal? I'll leave that for you guys to determine. Dan Campbell did come out and talk, I'd say a couple days ago, maybe it was last week, about the Ratledge Glasgow situation in the offensive line. Said that, hey, their intention is to give Tate Ratledge all the snaps he can take at center throughout training camp, see how he develops. He also has said, though, if they feel like he's just kind of hitting a wall and not improving, they're going to move Glasgow over, move Ratledge back to guard. So what they do in the most recent practice, well, they did just that. They swapped people around. Dan Skipper was the left tackle, Chris Mahogany the left guard, Graham Glasgow center, Tate Ratledge was the right guard, and then Penei Sewell, probably no surprise there, was your right tackle. Now, when asked about this to multiple different reporters, MCDC just said, hey, we want to make sure everybody's prepared for any kind of scenario, so Glasgow needs to get some repetitions in there. He needs to just make sure he gets out there, gets some practice time, etc. Is that what it was? Or is it that they're trying to say that maybe Ratledge is hitting a bit of a wall? That I don't know. I think today's practice will kind of answer that question, because if Ratledge is back to center, he's probably going to keep getting reps there with obviously Graham Glasgow getting some reps from time to time. Most reporters that you've heard talk about the Lions who were there, physically watching, have all said the same thing. Ratledge has looked pretty dang good. You can see clear development, and that, as a coach, this is all I can say I want to see. They all say the same thing. You see clear development from rookie OTAs to regular OTAs to where you are now. How much that growth continues, we'll have to wait and just kind of let the kid play things out. I want to see in the Hall of Fame game, if he's going to play in the Hall of Fame game, how much he improves from there to the second game, to the third game, to the fourth game. In my opinion, and that's all it is, my opinion, I think he's got plenty of opportunity to still continually grow and quite a bit before week 1 of the regular season. Would that be the Lions' best offensive lineman, I should say? Taylor Decker, Chris Mahogany, and then Ratledge at center with, I'm assuming, Graham Glasgow at guard and Penei Sewell at right tackle. That's your guys' thoughts. My thoughts, if it was me, you probably don't want to hear it, but I would probably not even have Glasgow in the starting lineup. I probably would have Manu next to Penei Sewell, but that's just me because I love the power and I love the athleticism of that lineup. Glasgow, I'm not trying to come after him. I think he's a great guy. I just think the future is that way. It's, if it's me as a coach, I'm probably going with the future now, not then. we'll have to wait and see what they do, but I do anticipate Glasgow probably will be a starter, just not what I would do. All right, let's see. Next to the 5 glorious headlines now. Jared Goff thinks Lions are making, quote, a great transition to new OC John Morton by Josh Apier of NBC News. Or sports, I should say. But what we've heard from multiple different Lions offensive players, and not just the offensive linemen, not the skills guys, but the quarterbacks, everybody in between. John Morton's going to be just fine as the OC. He's not missing a beat, and the Lions aren't missing a beat. Goff said a lot of the terminologies, basically the same. Some of the plays have changed. Some of their normalities have changed. And you do expect that anytime a new coach, a new person comes in. You can switch players, and players might run the same routes, but they might run them slightly differently just because all of us are unique individuals. Morton, though, part of the reason why MCDC hired him, I think we all get it. He helped set up the current version of the Lions offense when he was here, kind of assisting with MCDC, Ben Johnson, when he was just starting things off. Then he obviously took off and went to other pastures. But with that also being said, you're hearing, again, more and more from everybody in the skill positions, the tight ends, the running backs, the wide receivers. They are doing a lot of things to mix guys up and move them around. So, for an example, we've talked about in the last week or so, a lot of wide receivers getting flexed into the backfield, then coming out of the backfield as running backs, etc. We already knew that Gibbs, amongst other running backs, were going to be flexed out or motioned out into the slot or whatever to be a wide receiver. Now you're hearing more and more information about tight ends doing some of the same stuff. And to be honest, I wouldn't be mad to see Sam Laporta or Brock Wright or some of the other tight ends get in the backfield, maybe short yardage, situations where they get a handoff and go up the middle. Or how about this, where they become a lead fullback and block for a Gibbs or St. Brown or, whoever they're going to do. Lions are, it sounds like, more committed to having power formations with John Morton, and then moving some of those guys if they get an ideal matchup against them. Say somebody's playing man-to-man, defense, and you got, a cornerback matched up with Sam Laporta, moving to the backfield, hand him off, because that's obviously a good situation for us to run at the line of scrimmage. What all we're going to do, I don't know. I don't think we'll get the real full evidence of what Morton's offense is going to be until we hit the regular season. It's my anticipation that during the preseason games, we'll see some stuff, but it's probably going to be pretty vanilla, and probably anybody who's watched the NFL for a long period of time understands most teams don't really show you their full barrage of offense or defense or what they're going to do in those situations until the regular season. Everybody's pretty paranoid. They try to keep that under wraps as best they can. All right, next to the 5 headlines now, Lions have Lions wasted best Super Bowl chance? ? How Detroit can still break through despite losing both coordinators by Zachary Peoples of CBS Sports. Not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I feel like we've talked so much about the coordinator stuff this offseason. I get it. You got to come up with content. You got to come up with things to talk about. Here's my thoughts in a nutshell. I think John Morton's going to be absolutely fine. I don't think there's anything to even worry about there. Of course, I could be wrong. Kelvin Shepard, I do think he'll go through a little bit of a learning curve just because he hasn't done this job before. And I think he's going to put the team through some, I won't say significant changes, but I would say I'm anticipating some differences. And we have addressed this on the show a little bit the last couple of weeks with different Lions content creators and you guys in the Duke Crew. I think you are going to see some 4-3 defense, some 3-4 defense. I think you're going to see some shell coverages. So that means probably maybe 7 defensive backs on the field. And I do think the Lions are going to blitz a lot more with backers, with the secondary personnel to get after the quarterback. Part of the reason why I think that is just how Kelvin Shepard was as a player. Also, when you start paying attention more to the current roster, and yes, it will get trimmed down exponentially before the regular season, look at what they're overloading. They're overloading the linebacker positions. They're overloading the secondary. And what do all those guys are overloading with have? Man, they got some wheels. They got some speed. Lions, as we all know, play indoors. So how much is the weather ever going to affect them, at least at home? Probably 0, I would say, unless the roof gets destroyed or something. On the road, a fair amount of our games are indoor too. So I am starting to believe more and more Kelvin Shepard's going to unleash the fury multiple different ways, blitzing, getting after people, trying to cause mass chaos. When you're switching formations all the time on D, you do make it a little bit harder on quarterbacks to ascertain and get comfortable. Is it going to be 4-3 this time? Is it going to be 3-4? Is it going to be shell coverage, dime coverage, whatever? That's what good coordinators do. They try to cause that hesitation out of players, and opposing coaches. And I do think, man, you give Shep a couple of games, I think he's going to be right as rain. So let me know your thoughts. Are you worried about the coordinators? Me, myself, right now, I am not. All right, we got two. We got a bonus headline for you guys. So the fifth of the 5 headlines now. More injuries, question mark. Lions starters, Terrion Arnold, Derek Barnes leave practice early. Story by Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press. I know some of you guys don't like it when we jump on air with the, breaking news, somebody pulled a nail or, busted an ear or whatever it is. But hey, it's part of the life of a reporter. You can watch any platform out there and something happens, it gets reported because it's just the nature of the news cycle. What we can say is we now know that Terrion Arnold, his leg injury is a pulled calf muscle. So how long is he going to be out? I don't know, but maybe a week, I think, maybe a little bit less. But my guess is they're going to give it all the time in the world during training camp to let it heal up. He's been playing real well. Do they want him fully healthy for week 1, or are they more worried about training camp? I'm guessing week 1 is the priority, so I do think he'll sit out some time. When it comes to Derek Barnes, there are multiple reports. Some say it's a hand injury. Some have said it's a leg injury. Which is the truth? I'd leave it up to you guys to ascertain. For every person that sent me something saying it was a hand injury, there was an equal amount that later on in the day it was a leg injury. And I heard different people talk about it on different networks. I don't know what the truth is. How about this? It doesn't sound like it was a serious thing, no matter what it was, leg or hand. I'm just thankful neither one of their injuries appear to be serious in nature. We obviously know that's not the case with Levi Onwuzurike. It's training camp, and across the NFL, you're going to have people get hurt. Some of them are going to be season-ending, maybe even worse than that. That's why I think if, we always talk about Zadarius Smith not signing with Detroit. I think he still will return to Detroit. But don't be mistaken. If some team that feels they're a Super Bowl contender loses one of their prime pass rushers in training camp, his price tag just went up, and he might get paid a bag from somebody else. I still think that he'll be here in Detroit. At least I sure do hope. I think he'll be a nice rotational piece. And I already know some of you guys are going to say, well, the Lions keep talking about Marcus Davenport's this, that, and the other thing. I agree. Marcus Davenport's pretty dang talented. I also agree he hasn't stayed on the field very much for the last several years. All right, your bonus headline now. Not going to spend a ton of time on this one, but I knew a bunch of you guys wanted to find out about it. And as you guys know, we mentioned it during the opening segment. Christian Watson was released by the Raiders. First year of a 4-year, $110 million deal. Brass tacks of this, would he help just about every NFL team if he was on their interior defensive line? Absolutely. Immediately, he becomes the best probably defensive tackle on the market. He's a major problem for teams, no question about it. The question I do have about him, though, you're coming off a major foot injury that ended last year for him after 5 games. Apparently, the rehab, the recovery, whatever, the Raiders felt like he didn't do his due diligence taking care of it. More or less, the impression I get is he sat around on the sidelines, at least according to the Raiders, and just, never really rehabbed it. Was going to wait till training camp to come in. That way he could get checks, kind of just slowly get into the season and then eventually work his way on the field. That doesn't sound like the new regime for the Las Vegas Raiders worked for him, so they said bye-bye to him. Would you want him to come over to Detroit? Do you think he should? The Raiders cited a disagreement on how Wilkins handled his rehab on a Jones fracture repair to avoid the contract guarantees, giving a significant pause to considerations. And I'm not going to spend all day with that. We could make a full episode on this. But before some of you guys sign him, I would say we probably want to consider both sides of the story. Is there a reason why he didn't put in more work on the rehab? Or were the Raiders wrong for letting him go? I guess let me know your thoughts in the comment section, because I didn't spend a lot of time on this one because I just don't see it happening. But you know what? I've been wrong before. All right, all that done, set out of the way. Let's get on over to the main topic of the day. All right, main topic today, Kelvin Shepard knows football. There's no doubt about that. He's either coached or played it for, let's face it, just about his entire life. He is showing real excitement when talking about some of the things he's seeing with the players, some of the setups they've got for the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to paraphrase here, talked a lot about Tyleik Williams, his expectations for him. I didn't put him in the main, in the thumbnail for today's show, but I probably should. When talking about Williams, there was no doubt about it. Kelvin Shepard sees him being used in multiple different facets, multiple different ways to try to catch offensive linemen off guard and just see what they have in them. If you're watching Kelvin Shepard's body language, you're watching him talk and listen to the words coming out of his mouth, and here's what I'd say. He thinks that Williams is going to be a pretty dang good player. Now, a bunch of you guys already know about the hype train about Ahmed Hassanin. And let's just say Kelvin Shepard probably threw some rocket fuel onto a burning fire that is the hype train. What excites you about seeing him? One media member asked Sheppard about the 6th-round pick. Sheppard could hardly contain his excitement afterwards. He just said, absolutely, I'm excited for him to get the pads on. When he's out there now without pads, he is something to watch. You see him out there and the tape doesn't lie, your eyes don't lie. And again, just taking him at his word here, he plays with a certain mentality, a certain aggression. You've got to calm him down from time to time and remind him that's your teammate you're going against. Going on from that, he does say, look, this guy's a rookie. He just started playing football 6 years ago, ... Let's not turn him into Lawrence Taylor yet. So, hey, he goes on and talks about Hassanin, about Williams, and he's, gives nothing but praises. Can't wait until today when, pads come on, but he thinks both guys are going to be better than advertised. He understands Williams is going to be asked to handle the lion's share of the load on the defensive front for a while until Aleem the Dream McNeil gets back, along with a couple of the injuries up front, etc. When out there, he did mention a couple different situations where perhaps you could see DJ Reader, Williams, and then McNeil all in the same lineup at the same time. I've talked about that. I think you can do it because I think both Williams and McNeil have that athleticism to basically take over Levi Onwuzurike snaps as the big edge. Now, Marcus Davenport, he did talked him up. You probably all read about Aiden Hutchinson talking him up, amongst other Lions players talking him up. We all know earlier this week, Dan Campbell talked about Davenport in practice and just said, guys playing his tail off. I think he knows he gets paid if he plays. And if he plays at a high level, he's probably going to get a contract, whether here or somewhere else. The team seems to rally around this guy. Mark Davenport, I'm cheering you on. Getting back to Kelvin Shepard, though, he also mentioned one other player that I'm not so sure I think he can make the team, but maybe he can. And that was the other rookie, Dan Jackson. Jackson, most of you guys know he has limited playing time in college, but, huge special teams player for the Georgia Bulldogs. Won a national championship. He's all sorts of athletic. Safety room, secondary for the Detroit Lions is pretty jam-packed. There's a whole lot of guys with veteran know-how out there and some athleticism. Can he make the team? Well, if you take Kelvin Shepard at his word, he's at least in the mix to make the team because Jackson, he's flying all around. He's picking up things quickly. I also understand coaches don't ever want to put guys down in practice. They want to encourage them to play their best. So how much of all of this is coach speak? How much of it is actual unbridled enthusiasm for these guys? That's where I just try to go with my eyes and watch Kelvin Shepard like I would any coach or player and watch him with his eyes. There's no doubt about it. When he talks about Tyleik Williams and Ahmed Hassanin, he is, in my opinion, being legitimate with his excitement for those guys. Jackson, I think he is pretty excited about because he can play special teams. He can play, a couple different roles for the team. It's just my thoughts. He doesn't seem as excited as he is with the first two. All that being said, the Lions are becoming vastly more athletic on both offense and defense. We've talked about that ad nauseum. Dan Jackson would help with that athleticism. Not that some of the other guys aren't, but I think he is another level up. Tyleik Williams, I think he's one of the most athletic defensive linemen on this team, which probably means across the NFL, he's going to be in the top, 10 to maybe 20% of defensive linemen. There are just very few dudes on planet Earth with his kind of size, his mass, and still have those kind of wheels. So I think the Lions got a real good one there. Hassanin, hey, if this guy comes out in the preseason and has, 50 billion sacks, then you know what? The hype train's going to go up even more. I do think, though, while he's got so many good tools to begin building any player with, he's going to have to learn some stuff. He can only rely on that bull rush move we keep seeing in training camp so much before a strong offensive lineman kind of negates that. But that's part of his upside. he's got a whole lot of things to learn. If he can learn them quickly, he might just have a pretty decent rookie campaign. All right, we got about 5 minutes until Kurt the Hitman Steele joins us, or I should say Professor Steele joins us. So let's get over to the Duke Crew comments section, see what you guys have to say before he joins us and gives his expert opinion. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen. I'm scrolling as fast as I can. 1, 2, 3. I'm almost there. I'm making a dive for the end zone. All right, and here we go. JDC, morning all, back at you, and thank you. Good to see you this morning, JDC. Bootscar Blade, good morning, JDC, exclamation point, and the Duke Crew regulars, 100%, my friend. Hopefully it's a good day for you, the town they love so much, they named it twice. Robert, greetings, same to you. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Land is cleaner than ocean. It might be true. Woo, I'll go with that. The oceans are not the cleanest places anymore. Robert, Dan, what is your take on Anzalone? Question mark. He crossed the line with Lions. However, every game replayed I watch, he is everywhere. He is everywhere. And I know you have some people across the NFL nowadays in national media saying, he's a top 15 backer or whatever. I don't know if I put him there. I would put him in the top 5 as far as coverage backers. I think the Lions are better with him than without him, but the contract situation's got to get taken care of. I can only speak to myself as a former, professional GM and coach. The fact that if you let this slip around, it will start affecting other players. Next guy that gets signed, and I'm at that position that the guy got signed, and I like his deal better than my deal. Do I now get a free pass to hold out and say, or hold in, or however you want to term it? That's, I think, where the danger becomes. Once you allow something to happen, you got to allow it to have it to everybody, or the locker room gets divided. That's, again, just my opinion. Robert, back at you, JDC. Bo Booth, can't understand why Ocean has time. There you go. I see what you did there, JDC. Johnny L, good morning, folks. Same to you. Trey, what's good, everybody? So should we sign Wilkins? I say no, not a fit here. Yeah, I'm with you there. How about this? In fairness to Christian Wilkins, I would want to know a lot more about the situation before I pass judgment. Bo, what J-Mo said, what did he say? Drake, first, no on Wilkins. Second, Jay Powell is going to fly this year. I agree. Third, it's pad time in Detroit. You are correct on all three, my friend. Dean, so TA pulled a muscle in his leg, nothing too major. Did they figure out what was going on with Barnes? I don't think it's been official, just it's, from the stuff I saw this morning before getting on air, it didn't sound like anybody thought it was major. So that's a real big win for the Lions. Bo, did y'all hear what Hutch said about Davenport? I know he talked him up a little bit. It sounds like they're pretty good friends. Just, yes, sir, Bo Booth. Sounds like Hutch thinks the boy can play and play at a high level. I know we all say he gets hurt too much. The team and coaches appear to be in Davenport, though. Yeah, leave in Davenport, though. I would agree. I mean, we can all say, why did they resign him? I guess the easy answer would be they believe in him. Johnny, Bo Booth, what did he say about him? We'll find out. JK, Rip and Burrell. All right, I don't know that one. All right, so I do know about Hulk Hogan yesterday. I know everybody sent me some stuff on it. He's a divisive, I guess you could say at this point is, well, not anymore, but I mean, the last few years, I get he was a little divisive, the things he said and everything. The only thing I can say about the Hulkster is that if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, he was a icon for a while. Yes, he probably said some things he shouldn't have. And, I'll let you guys come to your own determination, whether you like him, hate him, or whatever. But that's what, 3 or 4 80s icons, however you want to term them, that have passed away in the last week. Man, and Theo, man, oof, what a bad week for the 80s. France, good day all. A week away from our first preseason game. It's getting real. It is indeed, man. We're almost there. Hey, more. Good morning, Coach Dan Duke Crew. What a team. What podcast. What time be a Lions fan. Woo! And back at you. Bo, Johnny L. Hutch talked about him on a phone interview and really spoke very highly of him. Yeah, I did see that. And to be fair, there's been a couple interviews with different people that basically said the same thing. Davenport's, he's coming to play. Big Eddie Shep talked Ahmed Hassanin a little, and then tried to pull back and slow that roll. He did. He caught himself, kind of try to catch it, but I think, you can basically tell what his nonverbal communication was expressing. Just greeting and sanitation to Duke Crew. Does anyone use YouTube to watch the games? Question mark. I'm thinking about buying their package. I don't. We have something, that it's called a smart box, but I would recommend it to anybody who wants to shell out $250 for a box, because you can watch I think it's like 2,000 different channels across planet Earth live in any kind of, movie or show you want to watch. You can look it up, lickety split. All right, Ezra Gray, good morning. Hey, you talk about somebody I haven't seen in a hot minute. Ezra Gray, good morning. Coach Dan and the New Crew. Chance to get the show live today, usually 8 hour late due to time change in Tennessee. But I'll be back in Detroit in August. Well, welcome on back. Hey, way to lace them up and get ready for the regular season. Good to see you, my friend. It has been a minute. Bo Sheppard said, don't talk about Ahmed Hassan if he's LT. Yeah, LT, Lawrence Taylor. Yet the kid's a rookie, but he obviously likes him a lot. Yeah, I think there's a whole lot to like there. J.K. Shep was holding back a couple of praises. Yes, he was. He was indeed. Johnny L. Justin, yes, I do, and it's pretty good. I'll have to check that out, man. I know on the thing we watched, there's a little bit of a delay. Dre Day, I have, Jess, it was great if you are out of the Michigan area before, but now the Lions are so good, I think the majority of the games will be seen on prime time. I think you're right with that. Susan Scott, I use a digital antenna, get most of the games for free. My father recommended it. Works great for NFL games. Jesslyn, yeah, I use that. If you guys watch the live cast I had last year, I did go out and get one. Yeah, it was awesome. You watch it as it happened. There was no delay, or at least nothing you're going to have as far as delay through the air. But, yeah, there were some channels I just couldn't find in my area. Central Scrutinizer, Greetings, Sanitations, Coach and Duke Crew. Woo! Big bucks, no whammies, one pride. Yes, man, that's a throwback to that show. All right, guys, let's go over and get over to our special guest of the day. You know him, you love him. He's the host of the Boss Up, Ball Out podcast. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Let's go get to Professor Steele. All right, Professor Steele, we are 1 week away from football being real. We got pads coming on today. How do you think the Detroit Lions training camp has gone so far?
It's gone pretty good. I would say it's starting to ramp up, getting a little physical, getting a little antsy. They have all that pent-up energy and aggression, so I like what I'm seeing. I like the way the team is handling some of the little nagging injuries. They're kind of holding guys back. They want to save them for the season. I think it's going to be another preseason where we don't see starters. I just don't see it. I think the way that they're going to treat the joint practices as their preseason games. Right. So that's going to be their matchups. They're going to use those 4 preseason games to evaluate the young talent, see who's going to make the roster, the bubble guys, give some of the young guys some chance to get out there. I think we're going to see Tyreek Williams and Tate Ratledge a lot on next Thursday. But after that, I don't think you're going to see them that much.
So I know yesterday or the last practice Lions had, they moved Glasgow back to center. They moved Ratledge to guard. Do you think that's just to get Ratledge some reps at guard and get Glasgow some reps at center, or do you think maybe they're changing their plan?
No, I just think that this is a rotational thing where they want to make sure that everyone's kind of like set for the season. I don't think Ratledge has done anything bad, so I don't think they're going to move him because he's screwing up, because you haven't heard that.
Right.
You've heard good things about Tate Ratledge at center. So he's learning, he's young. So I just think that they just want to make sure that, he gets as many reps at both positions as possible. So move him over to right guard. Jared Goff says he's already comfortable with Graham Glasgow at center. So, but Ratledge hasn't played guard in the NFL. So, he needs to have some of those reps as well, just in case he has to move over there or he's not ready when the season starts.
Right. When Kelvin Shepard had his presser recently, he did kind of, for a little bit, talk about a couple of the guys. At least in my opinion, you could see some of the excitement come off his face and into the mic. What did you take of his presser and his talking about some of the Lions rookies and other players?
I just love Shep, man. He's a breath of fresh air. I think that if people are doubting him and they think he's going to take a step back, I think they're totally wrong in that assumption. And some of the Duke Crew read it the other day. I wrote an article about Terry Arnold and his growth, and I posted in the chat. I think it was yesterday. So I'll post it again on the way out. But go check it out, man. He said everything that I said in my article. Shep, enforced in his press conference. Terry Arnold looks like a different player, man. He just looks like he's that, and he's taking that next step. He's more vocal. His body's changed. He's faster. His footwork is more fluid. He's getting his head turned around in coverage. That's why he had that one-handed interception versus St. Brown the other day. He's the player I'm most excited to see right now from what I'm seeing come out of camp. Terry Arnold I said in the article, I think he's coming to take the CB1 spot. He's say, hey, thanks for coming over, DJ Reed. You're number 2. I'm number 1. This is my team. I was here first. You play a good, and not to discredit DJ Reed. DJ Reed is a good player, but he's a good number 2 cornerback. And I think that's why the Lions kind of brought him in. So Terry Arnold could be that number 1 cornerback. But, you know, you see Tyleik Williams and Shep talked about a lot of guys. But it's just one of those things where the Lions defense, and he's talking about the guys buying in. It's one of those things where it's going to come to fruition, man. The Lions defense is going to be good this year.
All right. So we all know that yesterday the Raiders released Christian Wilkins. You know, 5 seconds after it happened, that there were going to be people saying, hey, Lions should sign him. What are your thoughts on the guy? Because I don't know if I've seen a guy get signed to a new contract, get injured, and then the team cut him at the start of the next season before.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. You look at Wilkins. He's a phenomenal talent. He was graded as one of the top 10 defensive tackles coming into this season. But you look at what we have and what he's going, not saying he's going to cost a lot, because the Raiders are going to have to fit a lot of that bill, you know, wherever he signs this year. But where does he fit, especially long term? Because if you're signing him, you're not going to sign him for he's not going to want a short deal. He's going to want some money because he just got paid. So you look at the depth at defensive tackle, and everybody's going to say, well, Aleem's not going to be there at the start of the season and some of the other guys. But by the time that really we get into the nuts and bolts of the season, those guys are going to be back and going to be ready to go. So I'm not sure, because I don't want to sign a guy and then you cutting someone that's going to have some longevity with the Lions that's going to be on a smaller contract. So I'm not sold on Wilkins, man, especially with the situation with him and the injury and them talking about him, not recovering correct. And then the story came out today that it was another surgery that was suggested. He didn't want to have the surgery. So that's why they're like, well, you didn't try to rehab correctly because you didn't want to have the surgery. But it's that guy's body. I can't tell. You can't make a guy have a surgery if he doesn't want to have the surgery. So, but I don't think he fits in. I mean, it's just you can. I'm not saying you can have too much. You have too much of a good thing can be bad, because then you pushing some guys out. And I like the way I'm looking at DJ Reader. DJ Reader is looking really, really good. He's looking faster. He's looking. This is his first full off season with the Lions, where he got a chance to. He didn't have to rehab, and he's healthy. So don't be too quick to give up on DJ Reader.
So we've heard about some things in regards to John Morton, Kelvin Shepard, differences they may bring over their predecessors. What are some of your expectations for both coordinators entering this year?
I think it's going to be more of what we saw last year. I don't think it's going to be a lot of changes. Shep is a disciple of Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to have some tweaks in there. They may play a couple of different formations where they mix things up. I like what him and what he does. He's definitely a student of the game. So I like what he's going to bring to the defensive coordinator position. And John Morton, man, like Jared Goff already said it, like it's most of the stuff is still the same. And it makes sense because John Morton taught Ben Johnson this offense. I've said it numerous times. So the architect of our offense is at the helm. So of course it's going to have some different things, some tweaks for John Morton that he wants to do it his way. But I don't see it being like, ooh, we're going to have this big step back because we got 2 new coordinators. Anyone who follows Detroit football, man, that's why a lot of these national pundits are really getting on my freaking nerves. Like, tell me you don't watch the Lions, because you wouldn't know who these guys are. And as these coaches, saying and most of the guys that are new that are in this staff are promotions. You know what I'm saying? The guys that are in the new positions, you know, except for one or two guys, you look at it, most of these guys were already on staff. They just kind of moved up into a new position. So, man, knock it off, man. The Lions coaching staff is fine.
This next question isn't exactly a Lions question, but it does impact the Lions. You're hearing all sorts of stuff come out of Chicago that Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears offense, their quarterback, their backup quarterback, their O-line. I mean, it sounds, and it could be way too early to really ascertain it, but what are your thoughts about the situation going on over in Chicago?
Just because you're a good coordinator means you're a good head coach. I never looked at Ben Johnson was like, this guy's a leader. You know, I think he's a good coach. I think he has a great football mind. He's an innovator. He's a great play caller. But do I think he has the mentality to be a head coach? Someone said this online the other day, and they were like, he has a lot of the same traits as Matt Patricia. Very smart, very intelligent, doesn't play any game. Well, you know, but with some of those guys, they don't have the patience and the mentality to be a head coach. And that's some of the things we're seeing out of Chicago. I see a lot of things that I saw when Patricia came in and took over that I'm seeing in Ben Johnson out there in Chicago.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes for the Bears. I don't wish ill on anybody, but I do wish will on them at least 2 times next year.
Man, FTB. That's all I got to say about that.
So let's talk about the Lions, the rookies. I mean, because let's face it, we probably have a pretty good idea where some of these guys, the veterans, are going to be, their skill sets, abilities. The rookies are usually the big wild card early on in camp, probably way too early. What are some of your expectations for each of the rookies for this year?
Of course, Williams and Rattler is going to start right away. They're going to be day one contributors. Tesla is going to be somewhere down the line. Maybe that mid season where he kind of picks up and ticks up his production and contributions to the team. Lovett can, depending on the health of Khalil Dorsey, you can see Lovett and special teams, especially on the kickoff return. Guy's fast. He ain't J-Mo fast or Gibbs fast, but he ain't far from it. Right. Very, very quick and a very powerful runner. Other than that, you know, you got Frazier's going to be on the mend for a while. You know, I don't see a lot of, you know, if you get any of these guys contributing, other than the guys I've already named, that's going to be a bonus, because I see the majority of these guys either maybe not, especially the UDFAs, not making the roster or being practice squad guys. You know, Dan Jackson can contribute, but he's got a lengthy amount of people in front of him. You look at all this, you know, you look at all the veterans they brought in. You still got Lawrence Strickland on the roster. So, and then even his fellow rookie safety is really, really outshining him in camp. So, yeah. But I said, to answer your question again, besides those other individuals, Ratledge and Williams and a couple other guys with Tesla, I don't see a lot of the Lions are just deep, and you know, except for those few guys, there's not really going to be a big spot for those guys or opportunity.
Other than Terrion Arnold, which I get, you did a great work and great thoughts on talking about his probable ascension this year. I think most of us agree he's going to make a big jump this year. Are there any other second or third year players that you think are capable of making a big jump going into this season?
I would like to see what when he gets healthy. I would like to see what Ennis Rakestraw can do. I'm not saying, you know, he looks like he had kind of that same kind of body transformation this offseason. I just like him because he's long, you know what I'm saying? He got long arms. He's not like, you know, he's not well over 6 feet, but he's like right at 6 feet. And we're going to need that, man, his size, and especially in the red zone. So you look at him, and because you got 2 5'8" guys that are playing your slot and your outside corner. So we're going to need some of that length on the outside. So I want to see what he can do. But other than that, No, not really. You're gonna see more of the same, man. Of course, Christian Mahogany, he's already showed you what he can do. I mean,
Right.
That he's a proven commodity right now. So the dirt bag is gonna do his thing.
Are the expectations for Mahogany too high, or do you think he can live up to the hype?
No, I think he's good. I think he's good to go.
Another late round hit for the Lions, man.
I think so.
All right. Last question I got for you here, because we won't have to worry about this really for about a month, but it will be here sooner versus later. Lions, as you've already stated, have a ton of depth. Some real quality football guys are not going to be kept on this team. You're Brad Holmes. What do you do with those guys?
I mean, either you got to release them or trade them. Try to get something for them. I mean, the really responsible thing to do is kind of get some of the draft capital or something like that.
Right.
But you can't keep everyone. I mean, the Lions are a deep team, and I love that bear down. Yeah, but you have to either cut them or trade them. I think he makes a deal or two for trade, either for some draft capital. I don't, unless it's someone who's really going to contribute right away. I don't think he trades for another player, because why would you trade a guy that you know what I'm saying, for something that you already have? But yeah, I think they're either going to cut a lot of people. A lot of guys aren't going to be on this roster that people are going to be fan favorites. They're going to be out. So
it's sad, man, because the Lions have changed so much in the last few years that once upon a time, half these guys cut probably would have started for us.
Yeah, think about this. I've said this the other day in a few chats. Detroit Lions were the graveyard. They were the graveyard in the NFL. That's where you came to Detroit for your career to die. And now you have guys scratching and clawing to get to Detroit and play for Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and Sheila and all those guys. So yeah, love what I'm seeing out of Detroit right now.
All right, he is the most wise man on all of YouTube and social media. He is Professor Steele. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find you, support you, your great content, and your channel.
Of course, you can check us out at the Boss Up All Out podcast. Soon, the Friday lives are going to start here again here in a couple weeks, so make sure you stay tuned for that as we get closer to the season. We're going to have a special recap episode tomorrow, so make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have a show. We're going to do our the first padded practice recap. So make sure you come check us out over there, LL and Coach Jones, man. We're getting ready. We got some things coming to you real soon, man. So some different segments for season 2. And check me out over at KurtSteele.com, man. Put some articles out over there. And quiet as kept, man. You may see me somewhere else coming up here in the future, man. So make sure you stay tuned, man. So if it comes to fruition, I will make a special announcement, and you may see me somewhere else doing Lions content. So make sure you check me out, man. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Kurt Steele is going to Netflix. I got it. He's going to be the lead analyst. All right, Kurt, as always, I want to thank you for joining us in the Duke Crew. Go have a great day, and thanks for making some time for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.
We'll see you. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this show a little early. It is Friday, so I got to get a couple things done for work and everything before my weekend begins. But if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as quick as possible. Just make sure you have your notifications on. Before you check out, if you would be so kind, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Have a great day. Do something kind for someone you don't know, and we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism?
Of Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology?
Or nuclear power?